Hey everybody, Vince Venturella here. Just wanted to take a moment to talk about some things that have been on my mind watching the all the 50% Lords and Heroes videos that have been coming out, Malorian and Sustainable Center, etc. A lot of people talking about it, a lot of opinions, a lot of posts, and all that makes sense. Um, I posted a video about this like a month ago when it when it first came out in End Times because to me it seemed obvious it was actually making a rules change to the game, but glad to see that's all settled. And I actually don't want to talk about that today. A lot of people in their discussion of this have mentioned that it encourages Death Stars of various kinds or whatever, individual powerful heroes or hero spam, doesn't matter, whatever the case. It's encouraging clumping up points into one thing, into this model, right? You have 5, 6, 800 points in 5 wounds. And a lot of the pushback has been that, well, we need scenarios. So if we have these scenarios, things like, that require fortitude, or you need to have banners around in different places in the table, or any kind of objectives where it's forcing you into different areas of the table as opposed to just kill. All you need is kill, as it were. Anything other than that is the answer to this. And everybody's like seems recently there's this thing in the zeitgeist of the Warhammer community that everybody wants scenarios. And I want to take a minute to talk about that because I want to go ahead and put the brakes on real quick and just bring up a little counterpoint, play a little devil's advocate. Okay. So as I said, as I said in my previous videos, I'm a game designer by trade. I've been doing so for more than 10 years. And there's an interesting thing in game design. It's this sort of double-edged sword theory. Anytime you do something that you consider as good, it has negative consequences. And those are easily mappable if you just sort of think through it. The problem is there's also second order consequences you don't ever even consider. So every good thing is going to have at least two different kinds of bad things that happen. Okay? And the second order ones are very hard to predict. But in thinking about scenarios, I can easily map out the first order consequences. So here are the first order consequences. People barely play the game right as it is right now. So I've been playing Warhammer since the mid 90s. Okay? And first off, stop using Hero Hammer for this term. Let me just say that. This isn't what 50% Lords and Heroes is. Malorian pointed it out. I can't agree with it more. Until you've had your entire army of 150 models wrecked by a single Chaos Lord on a Knight who can smash into a unit, kill 7 dudes, break that unit, run them down, turn, break a unit next turn, run it down, turn, break a unit next turn, run it down. Even if these are 50, 60 model strong units, which I have had, and there's nothing in my army that could stop that guy because he could even laugh off cannonballs. That's the age of Hero Hammer. Okay, so that's not the world we live in right now. We live in a world of steadfast, and the fact that I can take 50 slaves and shove them into almost anything in the world and have it at least hold a turn or two says we don't live in that world. So, but I want to move past that. What I mean is, when I played the game, it felt very much like the game does now. So, yeah, there's been lots of rules changes, and they may be significant impact, but the reality is the core of the game really hasn't changed in 20 years. And that's interesting to me because my primary area of game design is role-playing games. So if you compare that to something like, let's say, Dungeons & Dragons. So for those of you who play Dungeons & Dragons, you may know that a new edition recently came out. An interesting thing about that, again, it was a very paradigm shift from the previous edition. I don't want to talk about edition wars in D&D, but the point is that, like, from second to third, third to fourth, fourth to fifth, everyone was a significant departure that very much changed the game. There was sort of a small core vernacular. But the way the game played was very different. Completely different. Different in a way that no edition of Warhammer has ever been different. Okay? Because it's always still been, you have these troops, you have these specials, you have these rares, or whatever they happen to be called. You have lords and heroes running around and spellcasters, and they have a certain number of spells, and the very grist of the game has stayed the same. What Games Workshop has done, and full credit to them, is they've been sharpening the knife. Okay? 8 editions have just been sharpening the knife. And not everything has always been right. Maybe they tried to make a change, and then they didn't anticipate second order consequences or whatever, like I said previously, and it had a negative impact, and so they wheeled back or made a different change in a later edition as you went from 4th to 5th, 5th to 6th, 6th to 7th, etc. Okay? So all that is what I mean to say is that unlike many other games that change drastically, what's happened with Warhammer is it's come into this laser focused point. Okay, to the point where a lot of people who've been playing a while, I hear this a lot. Everybody loves 8th edition. I mean, sure, there are all things we might change, little things, maybe a significant size unit hitting the flank and break steadfast, whatever. I don't care. The point is that these are small changes. I mean, I'm not saying they might not have a big impact in some games every so often, but they're small changes to the overall 300-page rulebook. Okay. But let's return to my original statement of we barely play this game right as it is, and tie back into that sentence of 300-page rulebook. Okay, so there's been lots of research done with role-playing games where if you give people a role-playing game and you sort of scientifically watch them behind glass and you let them play, nobody plays it right. All right, everybody cheats constantly, and I don't mean that in a bad way. They're not consciously cheating. They just don't know. They just play it wrong. Even very simple games often get played wrong. Okay. Once you move past the level of like a sort of tic-tac-toe situation, even into games like Monopoly or something, you often get misplays. So when you move into something as incredibly complex as Warhammer, with just countless potential interactions, one of my favorite things about the Warhammer rulebook is how it has this like sort of 50-page section at the beginning that's like, now you know how to play the game. No, you shut up. That's not even close. You understand how to move and walk around and shoot and stuff, but you're going to hit a situation turn 2 of your first game that doesn't match what it says in those first 50 pages. Okay. So this game is very, very, very complicated. Even on a battle line scenario, people screw this up all the time. How do I know this? I watch a lot of battle reports, and I watch battle reports from people who I consider to be some of the best players around. You go watch Malorian and Once Bitten and Sustainable Center and all these people, okay, who Skaven and AZ, watch tournament reports, watch all these people who have great channels and produce fantastic battle reports, who are deep, brilliant thinkers about the game. And in their battle reports, you will hear the following phrase. Well, I cast this spell, but I forgot it. We forgot that this buff was in play. We forgot that this rule happened. We played this wrong. Whatever. Okay? And I'm not trying to fault them. They're human. I'm positive that I screw up on an order of magnitude larger in every game than they do. And that's exactly my point. If they're some of the best players and they're still screwing up on a battle line game that's just theoretically deploying the standard rules, then everybody else screws up at least as much, if not more. I'm sure there are like very hardcore tournament players who can literally play like turn to turn to turn without a single error. But that doesn't mean that's who's sitting on the other side of the table. So what you have right now is this Layer 1, very complicated base rulebook. Layer 2, your own army book, which is adding a bunch of complication because you have units that are exemption-based design. So that means that there's a standard set of rules, and then you create exemptions to it through special rules. And now we want to add a third layer of scenarios. Okay? And I've watched, it's been really telling watching, like, so Skaven AZ is preparing for Alamo, and he's been playing through the first 3 scenarios. And in a couple of those play games, he messed stuff up that was in the scenario, and which is a great example of why it's good to practice for a tournament. I have a feeling he'll do very strong in those scenarios because he's practiced through them, and he did figure out, oh, I forgot this, whatever. In addition to just learning how it works and how it plays, there's just learning to remember it and utilize it. So if we do scenarios, and don't get me wrong, we'll get to whether I'm not forming an opinion yet about whether or not we should have scenarios. At this point, I just want to instruct you of the negatives, or talk about the negatives, not really instruct you. That sounds like really highfalutin. I'm not doing that. I just want to talk about the downsides. And if we have these scenarios, then the only way they're going to work, in my mind, is if they are deployable at a level that can meet the player. What do I mean by that? Okay, so a lot of people hate, like, Watchtower. Or you have scenarios I watch in tournaments where it's a fairly complicated scenario. There's a lot of different moving parts. You get this guy has to go over here, and this thing has to happen, and there's 3 victory points for this, or whatever, battle points, and so on and so forth. Okay. the more complicated the scenarios get, the easier it's going to be to screw up, and the higher caliber of player you have to be. And I know we all like to think we're probably the best players in the world. I know I'm not. I'm a terrible player at this game. I forget stuff all the time. And kudos to my very generous opponents who are nice and are forgiving of me messing stuff up. And I have a feeling I'm not alone in the world, but I'll be the one who goes ahead and says I'm dumb, and I know that. So the scenarios have to be able to be at the level of the player, and that will never happen if I'm just adding more scenarios. Like right now we've got 6, and let's say 4 of them are really usable and people like them, whatever. If you know, another book gets printed and it's just 20 scenarios, okay, still a fail. Because again, let's say a dozen of those are going to be really good and get played and whatever. People will still forget them, and then they'll get old and boring, and people will learn how to get around them and whatever. So I play a lot of Mordheim as well, and I have downloaded maybe 40 scenarios for Mordheim. And after playing Mordheim for 6 months, my friends and I were all bored of those scenarios. That's 40 scenarios, okay, and we still burn through them to the point where we're like, okay, this one again, fine, I guess it's okay. The answer is something that actually came up in one of Materim's Narrations and Lamentations videos. And that is, scenarios need to be customizable. I'm fine with having a couple pre-packaged scenarios, whatever. I'm not saying take that away completely. Like, you could have the same 6 or 10 or whatever pre-packaged scenarios. Great, good stuff. But deeper than that, what needs to happen is I need like tables of like location and objectives and, you know, various moving parts, whatever those happen to be. Roll once on table 1, roll twice on table 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, think of it like the terrain table, but not bad. And I need to be able to set my involvement level in that. So what it needs to say is, if I want a simple scenario, have forces in 4 table corners at the end of the game. Great, and I get 200 victory points for every uncontested table quarter. Fantastic. Then here's your one thing you can take, and then instructions to build up from there to a very complicated scenario. So I can either manually choose, and we can build our own scenario off this table, or we can get together and say, hey, you know what, let the dice fall, and we roll it out. Let's roll once on this table and twice on this, and so on and so forth, and this is what we're playing now. And we sort of accept that we're going to make mistakes, or we're all really good players and can just adjust on the fly to this. Okay? So all of this is to say, yes, so now we'll come to my summation, my final opinion. Yes, I think scenarios are a good thing. Okay? But they have to be, one, deployed in a fashion where people can actually utilize them based on their level of skill and play. And there still needs to always be battle line. Like, I always just need to if I want to, I need to always be able to just smash my friend in the face, because that is still fun. 2, we need to all collectively accept that we're going to screw a lot of stuff up if we add another layer here. Now, the deeper option is we could go at a second level and say, we'll lighten out some rules. I don't know what you cut from this and still retain the game, but you have to simplify some interactions down to the point where a lot of things become easier, and I'm not sure the game can take a step backward like that. So if it can't do that, then the answer is make these scenarios in a way that they can be very simple, but still allow to push away those Death Stars, push away those, you know, I've got 5 models on the table total, whatever, or, you know, whatever it happens to be. So that it diffuses the power of character spam in a single unit of Silver Helms or whatever you happen to have. And make it so that there's cross-incentive on that. So that's good. We should do that. We should have those cross-incentives. But we all need to collectively understand that there's a danger to that as well. And the design that needs to evolve as we push toward 9th, my hope would be that it meets that requirement. That it is dynamic and that it does meet the level of the players in such a way that we can all utilize the scenarios in a way that hopefully doesn't screw our games up, because we all just end up forgetting a bunch of stuff and making the game so much more complicated that it becomes no fun to play. So, there you go. That's my thoughts. Hope you enjoy. Have a good one.